Okay, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Roy Weiser from NSWC Dahlgren, Dam Neck, Virginia, Virginia Beach, Virginia. I'm that representative, one of the three representatives on the Naval X Mid-Atlantic Tech Bridge team. The other representatives that we have are Dr. Julie Starr from Cotton Rock. Again, they're local in the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area, and Mr. Gerald Walker, also from Niagara Atlantic. So what the purpose of today's meeting is to really try to go ahead and have Dave Keeler as the Marine Corps Systems Command Advanced Technology Integrator. You can call him a little bit, he knows a lot about science and technology. He's well versed in it, many years working in the acquisition community and specifically on logistics. So initially he's going to go ahead and talk some needs that he has, and that will be more in the transmit mode. Additionally, for the last three companies, they all are great, very varied, and I'm glad that everybody was able to participate. What you'll be doing is presenting to Dave some technologies that we know that you have, and hopefully he'll express interest in that, and we'll make the connection, and which will lead to further conversations. So any further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Tina and Dave Keeler.
And we're going to do one slide, Roy, we have for Eileen to introduce 757 CoLab.
Hi, my name is Eileen Brewer, and I work with 757 CoLab. We partner with the Mid-Atlantic Tech Bridge to help them get all of their community outreach programming done. Like this event today, we have about one Tech Talk per month. So if you follow Tech Bridge, you can stay in tune with all of the different events that we have. 757 CoLab is based in downtown Norfolk. We're in the assembly building on a Granby and Freemason, and we offer services to the community. We have the 757 Startup Studios, which is a physical space that we give at no cost for 6 months for early stage startups to have a place to come and work on their business and go through customer discovery and ideation and get to an MVP. We also provide weekly training at no cost in that program. We have 757 Accelerate, which is an intensive 12-week training program that happens once a year, September through November. This is for startups that already have their MVP done and potentially, preferably have some customers and a little bit of revenue, but they're ready to grow exponentially. So we go through an intensive program to help them grow. And then we take them out on the road show and introduce them to investors in the region. We meet 4 or 5 different angel and VC groups as the culmination of that program. We also have 757 Angels, which is an angel network based in Virginia. They're interested in investing in Virginia-based businesses. Each one of these entities have their own websites, their own applications, their own calendars, and their own criteria. You don't have to do any of them in order. You can jump in anywhere where you think your business is a good fit. So just check out our websites, and if you feel like you want to participate in any of them, then please apply, and then let me know offline if you did apply so I can push a little bit for you. Thank you.
These are some of the different functional areas that Dave works with on the different systems there. And so he has quite a scope of different products that he's in some stage of S&T development. And he's always looking for new capabilities in order to fit the roles. Again, the biggest thing that he's involved with is contested logistics. And of course, you're talking about over in the South China Seas, advanced expeditionary advanced base operations. And so out of these different areas that he has, let's say specifically with engineering systems, you'll notice the third bullet that we have down there. Specifically, we saw that one that could meet one of Dave's needs there. Supply and maintenance systems. I would say that Dragonfly, we selected you in order to go ahead and take a look at that due to the work that you're currently doing in Ukraine. And then for the Amtrak, of course, you would fit into the ammunition bucket there. He also is responsible for some of the light tactical vehicles, the high power alternators, and some of the other vehicles with the power generation, as you can see there. But just because you were selected here as one thing, please keep your aperture open so that you might be able to say, Hey, maybe I know somebody else, or I know I have another company that I work with, where maybe you have this within your portfolio of products and capabilities that might fit into one of these different bullets. So Dave is always looking for these technologies, and so please be aware of that.
So when you look at this, right, what do you see? What does everybody see? You know, the common problem is that you need water, you need safe, clean drinking water in anywhere you go. And the process of getting clean, safe drinking water differs greatly from place to place. You know, typically it's water bottles or water bowls. So here at Gyrene, we're in the midst of partnering with a tier 1 automotive manufacturer. So we're going to be able to change the game, not only in the DoD, but globally, for these small type situations where we can get clean drinking water to the end user. So next. So when you look at this, you look at like problem solution. Currently, you know, I'm a retired Marine. When we looked at this, our typical problem set, or how we did it before, was distributed maritime operations, the hub and spoke type stuff, right? Most of our gear was created for that type of operation, but when you fight in the South China Sea or a near peer competitor, it becomes problematic. You can't move around, you're stagnant, you build up the big iron mountain, which becomes a big iron target and says, shoot here. So, you know, the current commandant seen that, and, you know, we started switching. Next, please. So we went to this thing called EBO, right? Expeditionary Basing Operations. I worked extensively with EBO when it first started coming out. I was one of the founders of, if you ever heard of JFARP, moving fuel around the battlefield in a contested environment. So that was my baby. I started that. Me and another friend started that at Marfort Pack. EBO is great. You shoot, move around the battle space, but there are issues with EBO. You know, you have centralized logistics channels. You have to be technologically superior to your enemy, right? The other problem was water sources. When we first started EBO, we didn't even look at the water source availability. We were so focused on fuel, we didn't even think about water. And if you think about it, water is one of the hardest things to move around the battlefield. It weighs more than fuel. It's 8.33 pounds by 6.78 pounds-ish, right, for fuel. You have to keep them both clean. They require a lot just to keep the warfighter moving. So with the commandant's guidance, they kind of shifted again. So if you go next, please. It's called the stand-in force, right? Stand-in force are these small, capable units that are all around the battlefield that are independent of each other, right? So they don't have these big, long logistical trails. But we have a saying in Gyrene: power and water equals freedom. If you have power, you have water, throw in ammunition, right? You have some effects on the enemy that's going to be hard to stop. So these are kind of the problem sets that we looked at. We kind of fell into the stand-in force, right? Because that wasn't a thing when we first developed the mangrove, but it fits the stand-in force mentality of where you're forging off the land. So next slide, please. And here's the mangrove. So it's gone through many iterations, right? We had the P1, which was showcased at ANTX 2019. And we showed that we provided water for the whole entire evolution because there was some stuff found in the water bowl. And actually the water bowl is how we ended up with the mangrove. The mangrove, AJ, he's my partner, AJ Scotty. He's a Marine. He went out to ANTX, or not ANTX, but out 29 Palms during a CAX exercise. And he's like, why are we still using the water bowl, right? And so we kind of threw our, like, shoot, we don't know, let's figure it out. How do we make it better? And so we came up with the mangrove, right? So, and essentially you create your own water. It's a system of systems. We looked at it from the perspective of what would we want as a warfighter, and this is kind of what we came up with. It has the ability to create water from brackish water, fresh water, salt water, as well as air, right? You can integrate it into the vehicle, or it could be a standalone system. It can create 400 gallons a day from an RO system, or it could create 28 gallons a day from an AWG system. Why do we put system of systems together? The reason why is because every system has a drawback, right? It has a gap. So we wanted to fill those gaps the best we could. RO, best way to create water because it uses the least amount of energy. But depending on your water source and depends on your prior filtration on what it does to the RO system. So it goes through, for our water system, it goes through a multi-stage filtration system where it cleans out everything prior to even getting to the RO filter. It's able to connect into city water that uses chlorine as a cleaner for their water. So it takes away the chlorine. Chlorine's a killer of RO filters. So it removes chlorine from the water, as well as soot, sediment, and all that stuff. It has the ability to clean those filters so you can extend the life of your filters. The filters, we try to keep the filters cheap so units can train. Worst thing is to have a piece of gear you can't train with because it's too costly to use. And so we didn't want that. So you're able to do a complete filter change less than $100. So the units can use to train. The other thing is that we looked at it from a water saving perspective. If you look at the Marine Corps, right, the DOD uses 3 to 5 gallons per person per day, right, for drinkable water and light hygiene. Well, a gallon to a gallon and a half of that is actually inputted into the little equation for water spillage. If you've ever been around a water bowl, you understand that's true, because a water bowl always has pools of water around it because of the type of, just simple systems. A simple spigot, right, can change the whole game. So we added simple spigots. We also added some pretty innovative things like Camelback adapters, so you can plug straight into Camelbacks. This one right here has actually got a hot water heater because it went to Europe, and we threw that in there just to say, hey, we can do this if we want it, right? It's a pre-production model to the 52nd Air Force. This one actually deployed to Poland and did some pretty cool things out there. Next. So we got a saying within Gyrene: if you're not moving, you're dying. And so making water on the move, how do you do that? Well, you could do it a couple different ways. You could put the system integrated into a truck, and you'll see that a little bit later, or you could put the system on a trailer. So we're building this system come March. We started talking with Westmark, and we're going to do a system together. And what this allows is you could drop the system in place, or you could tow it behind any vehicle. Vehicle is agnostic. It powers, the power source for the mangrove is agnostic. It powers from the vehicle. It could power from a fuel power generator, or it could power from solar, air, shore base, anything. It has 11 kilowatts of exportable power. And so you can use that to jumpstart vehicles. We actually demonstrated that ANTX. We jumpstarted our own vehicle because Humvee batteries are so good. And so that's a little joke. They're not. So they, so this is what we're kind of working towards next, right? It has the same capabilities as the P3. It's just on a trailer. But it does have a larger holding tank. The P3 has a 20-gallon internal holding tank. This one has 150, and as we lighten it up, that'll change. So what's cool about this one as well, the mangrove not only filters water going in, it filters it going out. With the Westmark system, they have a system where you can actually plug in and clean the holding tanks to reduce the biofilms, and it'll have some internal stuff as well to keep the biofilms out. Again, it filters going in and it filters going out. So the user always has clean, fresh drinking water. So I always make the joke, hey, why do Marines drink black coffee? It's because the water tastes so bad. With this is not the case. Next, please. So this is where we're at right now. We took the P3 and we made it modular, right? And so why did we make it modular? So it's easier to move around the battlefield. Batteries do weigh a little bit. We separate into 3 separate pieces. We have the AWG, and we also have the RO module, and we have the power module. These modules you can use independent, or you can use as a system. So you could task organize to fit what you need to do, right? It could be placed, we can modify it to place it over the wheel wells, over the JLTV, or currently it could fit right in the back of the truck bed. So you can use it as a logistics type vehicle. The key is single use systems, we feel they're not efficient, because you're never going to have a single use scenario. That's why we have multiple ways of making water. Problem with making water on the move, the only way to really do it is through the atmosphere. Mother Nature has a play when you do that. Depends on the quality of the air, how much water's in the air, and the temperature of that air, right? Currently, our system, like I said, makes 28 gallons a day through the atmosphere, and that's at ideal conditions. As that air quality changes, it changes. For the JLTV, we put this one over the wheel well so we could get it as high in the air as possible to reduce the amount of debris and stuff you do blow in. It has the ability to track how much water is being used and transmit that through the air to your phone. We could shut that feature off if you're in that type of scenario where they could track your radio waves or anything like that. So we can shut those features off. But during training, you're always trying to figure out, hey man, how much water did we dispense? How much did we do that? Well, you can pull it right off your phone. It also has the ability to add sensors. So you could check CBRN environments. So you're not doing the selective unmasking. So if you're that poor private that says, hey, take off your mask, you don't need to do that. You just turn on the system and it could pull air and then you could check it. And if it's a CBRN environment, it shuts off chunk, right? It'll sense that. Last thing you want to do is pull that type of air into a system. So that's the mangrove. Next, this is our team right here. These are the founders. We're going to, like we said, we're changing the game. We're not a big water system. We don't want to be, right? We're for small tactical units that give the units and the warfighters the ability to move, shoot, and communicate. We're in a big exercise with the Air Force this summer. And it's the largest exercise. We're going to do a side-by-side comparison in a project called Arc Water with the way they currently do business to the way they can do business. And it's going to really demonstrate on how much fuel savings and logistical savings that our systems give. And so it's going to be pretty exciting, really exciting, because again, hardest things to move on the battlefield are fuel and water. If you can reduce the fuel footprint and create your own water, hey, the only thing left is supply the ammo. I think we have a pretty cool little ammunition thing that was demonstrated. I thought that was really neat. So that's all I got, Tina. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask, and we're here to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Really appreciate it. Great presentation. So I'm gonna shift to Dragonfly and Cameron. And then again, if anyone has any questions, you can put them into chat and we can get those answered after Dragonfly's presentation. And I'm just gonna do one more check to see if Dave was able to get back on, Dave Keeler. Okay. So Cameron, you can go ahead and share your screen, and over to you, sir. And I can see your slides, so looks good.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate being here and the opportunity to speak with this esteemed audience and the fantastic companies that are here. Really impressive. So Dragonfly, we're commonly known as the oldest commercial drone manufacturer in the world. We've been around for 23 years. Produced the first commercial quadcopter, and we really kind of focus on saving time, money, and lives. We have a large focus in public safety. In fact, a Dragonfly drone was the first drone that was credited with saving a human life, and that drone sits on permanent display. It was a search and rescue mission with the federal police in Canada, and that drone sits on permanent display in the Smithsonian today. In the 24 years of operations, we've only ever had 3 people leave, and one of that was Google got one of them, and the other 2 retired. So we have a really strong bench strength and you know, kind of knowledge that we carry forward with us in the business. Every year we tend to come out with some new innovation within the industry. Typically we've been a pretty small company, really focusing on technology and innovation. But you know, we come out with something new every year. We've got a strong customer base, both in the commercial and the military side of things. This gives you a sense of the type of organizations that we're fortunate enough to work with. We came out with 4 new products this particular year. A heavy lift drone, and I'll go into a little bit more detail on these. Our Commander 3XL drone, which is really our workhorse, which tends to be taking the market by storm right now. A long-range LiDAR, which is very strategic to us, and then our Commander 2, which is a light tactical unit that's great for patrols and such. We also do sensors, so not just you know, this LiDAR system here, but also we've developed, as an example, this vital intelligence system, which comes out of our AI bench. So we've got the capabilities on the cameras and with our drones, to optically be able to determine heart rate, respiratory rate, blood oxygen flow, heart rate variability, temperature, of course. And so these have been used in search and rescue type situations. They've also been used to monitor crowds for health control, disease, the detection of contagious diseases and such. We do manufacture, but we also integrate several different payloads and sensors. We are a solution provider first. So we really look at what our customer needs, and then we look to provide that solution into the market, which is why I think we've had so many really unique and exciting deployments over the last 23 years. We absolutely have our own software bench, so our own flight software, our own survey software, but we also integrate with multiple other software providers in the market, whether it's specialized landing systems, whether it's fleet management systems. Again, it really depends on what the customer is looking for. And then we do a ton of projects and concepts. So we've done ground robots, we've done high altitude surveillance and reconnaissance, fixed wing aircraft, tethered drones on the top of embassies and such. And so, we do a lot of custom engineering, primarily for military contractors, but we also do training, flight services, full data services. So we collect, protect data, manage permissions. We also have analysis in several different industries using our AI. And then we also do things like spraying services, whether that's for agriculture or inspection services or de-icing services for wind turbines or airplanes or, those types of things. I mentioned our contract engineering. And so we've worked for, different departments of the military throughout the years and have on and off engagements in that regard as well. Speaking a little bit to our current product line, this is the Commander 3XL. This is really being dubbed as the Swiss Army knife of drones. So we're a US based, North American based, I should say, with manufacturing both in Canada and in the United States. And like I say, we've done, we've sold over 10,000 drones into the public safety industry. So that's Homeland, US Marshals, Border Patrol, hundreds of different sheriff's departments and stuff. And we've been doing that, for the last 20 years, not just because it's a popular thing now, because of the foreign national concerns around drones. But to give you a sense, this is a drone that we came out with this year that's been in development. It is 100% based on utility. It's likely the most efficient drone in the market today. With its payload, it's under 55 pounds. And why that's important is because there's a lot of exemptions that aren't, or permitting and licensing and such that aren't required to fly this. It's also important because it's quick to move. It's quick to break down. And there's about 17 different payloads that fit onto this. That entire fuselage that you see there is nothing but batteries. And everything begins and ends with battery life, with most design, but in particular in drones. And the reason that we've overpowered this thing with batteries to the extent is because a drone is really all about the sensor. So we can put a LiDAR system on this thing, the one that I showed earlier. I'll talk a little bit more in a second. That's a LiDAR sensitivity that used to have to fly on a helicopter or used to have to fly on airplanes. And so we've not only designed something that's got the capacity to lift something of that size, but actually has the power to run it as well. And when you're out on missions with these things, your constraint is battery life. Certainly all the comms and jamming and all that type of stuff are incorporated in this as well. But this has got 50 minutes flight time, can carry a payload capacity of about 22 pounds. And so, whether we've got forestry organizations that are taking chainsaws up mountains, or whether you're carrying water into the battlefield, or you're carrying heavy sensors that require, a big drain on battery because of the comms and the jamming requirements. This is a drone that's really getting that. It's purpose driven for the new reality of drones, which has really come into fruition since the Ukraine conflict and the capabilities and the importance of drones in theater. This is our heavy lift drone, and I'm moving through this quite quickly, but again, highly efficient, can carry just 30 kilograms of weight on this thing. This thing breaks down into, each of those arms breaks down into really quite a small case that can be carried out by one person. It's about without your pre-check, it's about a 10-minute setup to get this thing up and going, and it's about a 10-minute breakdown as well. We're looking at a lot of different scenarios for this, whether it's logistics, whether it's munition delivery, whether it's medical supplies or equipment. We have put this in theater in Ukraine, and so we can talk a little bit more of that in a second. We do full custom training, and we do have boots on the ground in theater right now, so we're learning a ton all the time. So we love bringing that back and then working with our customers to really work through advanced processes for flight controls, for mission training and things like that. We are finding right now that regardless of the advancement of the drone that you put in theater, the techniques and the pilot awareness and experience is really the difference maker still. So the types of deployments that these drones that I've mentioned here really are great for are surveillance and reconnaissance. We also do have a VTOL drone, which I haven't shown here. That's a vertical takeoff and horizontal flight drone, and which flies at extremely high altitude. It's super quiet, and so anyway, we've deployed these in for surveillance and reconnaissance, primarily with emergency services. We've also got tactical delivery, critical payload delivery capabilities. We haven't done a lot of battlefield type deployments, but we have done a number of humanitarian deployments in this regard in battlefield theater. And then obviously medical. And one thing that we have uniquely built into this is that we have a temperature controlled box that can carry things like pharmaceuticals, plasma, blood, insulin, things that, again, you've got to keep at a critical temperature. They require a battery life typically to be able to manage that. And so we've got a patented box that keeps things at a consistent temperature for 24 hours, which is a critical component when we're looking at medical situations. So I did want to just quickly here talk about Ukraine, and I'll just open up a new screen here, if you don't mind, for one quick second, just to talk to things. So we initially deployed into Ukraine with an NGO, and the mission there was to deliver. They had multiple ambulances. They couldn't get them through roadblocks. They were getting confiscated, shot, destroyed, and etc. So we deployed drones with them with a medical sensitive or medical managed temperature box on them, and the primary initiative was to distribute insulin. And so those missions were successful, and we learned an absolute ton in that regard. These can be lowered by hoist. They can be landed in spot. We can either do a payload underneath, or as you see in this picture here, we can do a payload on top, again, depending on the specific application. We've also since then moved into surveillance drones, which are typically being used by firefighters and emergency services. This is actually footage from emergency services headquarters just outside of Kyiv, which literally a few weeks before this was occupied, and you can see destroyed by Russian troops. We worked with and have worked with several organizations there talking about tactics. In this particular instance, we were talking about and working with them in our landmine detection technology. So these same drones we equip with things like magnetometers, LiDAR systems, hyperspectral and thermal sensors. And we have a systems of processes and protocols that enables us to determine, wet landmines, what areas of landmines should be detected or addressed first. We've got Darren with us here today, who's available for questions. He just got back. He's our country manager in the Ukraine, and he just got back from the Ukraine last week. Completed about 2 weeks of reconnaissance missions for all the fields that we will be actually working with Halo Trust and demining over the coming months. And again, that's not public information at this point, but let me just pull this back up. Thank you. We are also working with several organizations in the Ukraine at a government level and the United 24 level, which is their main NGO over there, charity sponsored by the government that is actually bringing equipment in. BlueVac has a very, very unique counter-drone technology, jamming technology, and identification of drone technology. And so we are actually working with that and deploying that in country today. So we're very partner centric. Again, we really like solution-based business. We are building an initiative out with BlueVac right now to actually extend the range of their counter-drone technology by actually using the drones as a repeater. So putting them out an additional 20 kilometers away and being able to repeat that information and identify combatant drones or any drones within greater areas. And so it's a pretty exciting project that we're really excited with. We have an in-country partner there, DEFC, who does work for the military over there. And so they're embedded and really helping us in terms of everything that we need to do in terms of our processes and such. And then, of course, we're working with Halo on the demining front as well. So I've rushed through all of this pretty quick. But did want to give at least a high-level overview of things. We've got an executive team that has experience in aerospace, built multiple companies in this space before, and we have a board of directors that comes, out of Homeland Security. Andy Card, for example, who's the former Secretary of Transportation and the former Chief of Staff for the White House for the two Bush Jr. administrations, and kind of the list goes on. So we think we're well placed. We're honored to be here and happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Cameron. Appreciate it. I know the one question got answered. James was asking Cameron if you wouldn't mind sharing your email address. So up to you whether put it directly in there or just directly to him.
Sure.
But okay, perfect. I want to do one last check to see if Mr. Dave Keeler was able to hop back on with some closing thoughts. And if not, we will absolutely share this recording with Dave. So Cameron, Mike, and Evan will get that in front of him. And we'll kind of go from there. And then I will follow up with you separately to see what is distributable in terms of the slide deck if we shift it to a one-pager. But I'm going to go ahead just to give everyone a little time, if there are any final questions, to share our last slide. And what we ask here is that you bring out your phones and you can, you're going to be able to scan this QR code. Zoom again.
We'll have you take a survey. It's just 3 or 4 questions. If you complete the survey, then we can send the presentation to you, the slides to you. We will only omit any slide that the presenters ask us to omit. So if you would please use your phone and scan that QR code, it'll take you directly to a website with the survey. Once you complete the survey, we can send you the deck.
Yes, and as go ahead, Eileen.
I was just going to say that we have a Mid-Atlantic Tech Bridge presence on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on YouTube, and Eventbrite. So if you go to those locations, those separate QR codes take you to each one of our presence there. You can follow us anywhere and stay aware of the next tech talks that we have coming up. The next big one we're going to be having is on April 25, that is on the slide here. We're going to do a full day small business workshop with the focus on SIVER and SITR. That will be in person or remote. We're going to do that at the Assembly Building in downtown Norfolk on the rooftop. We have a very nice space here. There's no cost. You can plan to be here all day. The morning we'll be focusing on phase 1 and the afternoon we'll be focusing on phase 2 and phase 3. But we'll also have a wide variety of presenters and opportunities to meet with those presenters. Over to you, Tina.
No, thank you, Eileen. I didn't see any questions come in. So again, I really want to thank our
Yes.
Okay, hold
speakers.
on. Tina, we have some questions from Roy.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
Roy again. Hey, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to each of the three organizations, companies. I mean, it was really how it matched up and the professionalism that you did in matching up with the items that Dave is looking for. It is just unique to me. Just a few quick questions individually. As I sat here and I was listening to the Dragonfly one, Cameron, you talked about being having some of your drones and products in country and using DEF-C. And maybe this is unusual, but if the other two companies, maybe if you could shed a little light on how your product became selected in order to go over there so that they might be able to leverage something on that. Over.
So
Yeah, sounds great. We are doing what's called the DFR, drone as a first responder work in Texas. And that's basically what happens when a 911 call comes in. What you'll see over the next number of years is that as trucks roll out from the stations, drones will fly at the same time. Drones will show up about 7 to 12 minutes earlier and provide situational awareness for the first responders that are coming in. And tests over the last couple of years have showed that about 20% of all the calls are turned around because they're false alarms, and the drone was able to get there and verify that. And so there's an immediate ROI on this. So that, long story short, we have two drones. We have a drone that gets there and does situational awareness, and then we have our medical relief drone that also is available as a secondary backup for things like AEDs or insulin or EpiPens and such. And we had a little bit of PR around that, and an organization called Revive Soldiers Ukraine, which is an American-based, US-based, NGO, had heard about it. And they had reached out to us because all of their ambulances that they were working with over in the Ukraine were getting, destroyed or confiscated or whatever the case was. And so they said, hey, could we use drones to get, supplies into these besieged cities? And so we donated 3 drones in just to get working and learning and such. And then from there, it blossomed. We met people in country. We went there. We spent time. We worked. And then since then it's just completely blossomed for us. So certainly happy to interface with any of the organizations here on if we can be of any help in that regard as well.
Okay, and then I had one question for Gyrene, Mike. You mentioned you have an upcoming Air Force exercise this summer. Basically, comparison with what the as is and what to be. How long, if you can pass along some information on that, and how do you get involved with those exercises in the first part?
So we were a phase 1 through phase 3 SBIR awardee. We worked pretty tight with a guy named Brent Kinney. He's a senior master sergeant, and we were part of a system that we won Spark Tank in 2022 last year. And so that kind of pushed us into them tech demonstrating a lot of stuff, right? And they're in this ACE construct where they were, hey, moving around the battlefield, kind of like what the Marine Corps is doing. It's just the Air Force does, their tail, their logistics tail is such, it's pretty large. And so they're trying to reduce that significantly. And the two biggest things to reduce are fuel and water. So if they can reduce the fuel and water, that sheds a lot of pounds off the logistical footprint that they have to, the logistical tail. The person that we got in, we have 3 systems that we just sold to the PACAF, and we're trying to sell more right now. We just got hit up again today, and we could get you in contact with some of the people we're working with. We could use anybody here, and we'll get those people in contact with those people just to see if they could play in the game. I don't have a problem doing that at all. And yeah, that's how we got in. It's just, I hate to say it, it's luck along with a lot of drive and persistence to get where we're at. So yeah, right people, relationships, using all those things. So we're here to help any way we can help, to help another company, small business, trying to make it forward within this battle space.
to the purpose of what we're trying to do here. Initially, we'd like, as part of the tech bridges, to go ahead and do that connection between your capabilities, the products and services that you provide, and match them up with the advanced technology integrators or warfighters that need these type of technologies. So I think that worked well today. But what I'd like to offer to each of you is that what we've looked at Mid-Atlantic Tech Bridge is trying to go ahead and not just connect to people, but help you with the technology transfer in order to get things into the warfighter's hands. So what we'll do, and what I'll do with this too, is that I'll make sure that Dave gets this, and I talk to him individually, and I have no problem at your convenience if we could get together, if he wants to see you on a one-to-one basis, meeting with him, and just about a half hour or something like that at his, based upon his schedule. But if there's anything that you need in order to assist, we have quite a wide network with the 3 individuals that from the Tech Bridge that were listed initially, and we'd be more than happy to help. We just don't want you to think that, hey, thanks for the tech talk and bye-bye. No, we want to help you in the future to go ahead and move forward. So anything else that you have, Gerald?
No, I just want to echo Roy and say thank you for the presentation. That was some really great data, and the devices and products that you guys are working on are pretty astounding. So glad you guys were able to all come in and give that brief. We'll make sure that information gets over to Dave, and we'll definitely follow up with all of you.
So thank you guys so much. And please follow us on LinkedIn for sure to see what next events we're going to have. Thank you all.